Hello, hello. Welcome to the Five Talents Podcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. I interview the top commercial real estate investors and industry experts so you can learn from their experiences. So if you're an investor, a high W-2 earner, or real estate or tech sales professional that wants to invest in real estate without having to manage properties or leave your day job, then this podcast is for you. Or if you're already investing in real estate, but you're doing it part-time and you want to become a full-time multifamily or full-time commercial real estate investor, this podcast is for you too. You're going to learn a ton. You will learn from real-life multifamily investors and other professionals in the industry. They're going to share their blueprints for success, and I'm super excited that you're here. So I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, hello. This is Abel Pacheco, your host for the Five Talents Podcast. We have an amazing guest. I'm super excited to have Miss Leka on our show because she is one of those, like I said, real estate personalities, a high-performing achiever, one of those individuals that, you know, really you can't help but root for. She's the founder of Rehabit Homes. They are a residential development company in the Pacific Northwest. So she does a lot of Seattle properties, big dollar homes. Really, I go, wow, this is the price of an apartment complex that we buy. But she came from, this real estate space, and she is also a broker. She's done multiple millions of dollars in transactions on both sides of the world as an investor, as a broker. And then, really, I think by just sharing your story, you're helping, coach and give some education and sharing others. She's a meetup host as well, a pretty successful one in her area. I got to see Ken McElroy, who's the author of ABCs of Real Estate Investing. It's a Rich Dad, Poor Dad Trusted Advisor book. So she's associated with some of the players in the space, and we are super excited to have her as a guest. So Ms. Leka, let me turn it over to you. Can you give us a proper introduction? Tell us who you are, what you do, and we'll just start from there. We'll have a great conversation.
Thank you for having me, Abel. I inspire and admire your work so much that it's a pleasure to just sit here and get some uninterrupted time, just the two of us, although everybody else is watching. Okay, so I grew up in India and I moved to the country in 2006. And so I've lived here since then. And when I moved here, I was in a strategy role at Nordstrom Corporate. So I was in high fashion, loved my job. But, there was a big calling. There was like a deeper calling to do something more entrepreneurial. And that's kind of when I discovered real estate investing, and I started my company in 2014, and it's been a joyride so far.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been
So
a while.
you've been in the U.S. just very short period of time, and you've amassed some amazing success in this short time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate, I surround myself with really awesome people that like help me grow and help me seek out new opportunities, and that's been my key success factor.
Yeah. You're an overnight success. It only took you 14, 15 years to get there, right?
I wish, right? Yes.
Well, a lot of people say, "Oh, how did you get there so quickly?" They're like, "Yeah, you're discounting 14 years prior and learning strategies, learning things,
Right.
grinding, hustling, your absolute perseverance, dedication, all the things that we know that it took you to get to where you're at." So that's
Yeah, there's like no get rich quick program out there. That's just a farce, You have to give it everything you've got, especially in something like this, where there's no roadmap. It's like you get out what you put in. So if you're not putting in much, then you're not getting out much.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming in as a foreigner, right, from the US, I'm sure there's extra added obstacles in your path.
Abel, when I moved to the country,
Go
I
ahead.
didn't know the difference between a nickel and a dime.
Yeah. And then also, being a woman, a female entrepreneur, my wife reminds me of the extra hardships that we face. But I mean, there's another obstacle and a barrier and a hurdle. And then in real estate, my wife was in tech I was in tech for 13 years. She was as well. And she would remind me, golly, this is, definitely it's a different space to break into.
Right.
The extra obstacles, and the same with real estate is true, because there's a lot of men, and they're so, it's amazing, seeing people like yourself break through and then being able to have that success. I mean, it's tremendous.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. What can you tell us, for all those listening, give us an idea of your experience in real estate? And I'm going to ask you some other questions about yourself and your background. But before we do that, like tell us about the number of transactions, the volume, the millions of dollars, brokerage side, investor side. Just give us an idea of what you've been doing lately.
Okay, so when I first started, I kind of broke through in investing through the single family fix and flip asset class. And what I did there was, and I still do flips. The average price point of a flip in my area is about 700K for acquisition and rehab and holding costs. So it's really expensive to do one if you don't know what you're doing and if you are not doing things right. It's a lot of money that can be lost. So over the course of the last 7 years, I've done about 50 single family flips that are, like crazy rehabs, everything from a 50K remodel to a 300K remodel. So massive.
And that's as an investor side. We're not even talking broker transactions yet, right?
Oh, so as a broker, I honestly just became a real estate broker to service my own company so I could go in and out of homes. But that led me to actually selling and buying real estate for my friends and my network. And I ended up selling about $25 million of real estate in the last 3 years.
Wow. Congratulations. You're like, yeah, I just kind of did that on the side and
I did.
ended up doing $25 million worth of business there. And I
The thing
love
is,
it. I love it.
being an investor yourself and having bought and sold so many homes personally, I understand the buyers and the sellers sentiment. And that's what makes me a good broker, because I know when I go to the negotiating table, I like just go to bat for my clients. Like I have 3 properties of Sean's that I'm selling right now, and I negotiate harder than Sean negotiates because I'm like, I want him to, basically get
Yeah.
the best profit.
Yeah. For those that are listening, Sean Katona, give him a little LinkedIn follow. We got a shout out. It's one of our mutual friends and somebody that we know
Yeah.
together. And I met Sean off Clubhouse, and then we connected through LinkedIn. We had a podcast interview. We've seen him on a live. And anyways, small world, the real estate world is. And Leka and Sean, go back from the days as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah, he was my first mentor. So
Yeah.
7 years ago. Crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so let me not gloss over this for a moment. $700,000 deals, single family houses, 50 of them. And the math on that, I think if I'm right, that's like $35 million. So that's a lot of transactions as an investor. And I know we're not talking about, multifamilies. What we usually end up talking about 100 unit plus deals, trying to figure out how to raise millions of dollars, but that is a feat. How does that even happen? Like tell us a little bit about maybe your team, your processes, your systems. How, what length of time was that? How,
Yeah.
when did you start? Give us all the insight here. This is awesome.
Yeah. So I started 7 years ago. So it's been 7 years in the making. And the reason that I was able to scale is very early on in the process, I discovered that I needed some key pieces to the puzzle, some key people that I needed to add on, not to my own personal team, but at least use them as consultants. And that's kind of what I did. I discovered early that I was really bad at finding deals. Like I was not a door knocker. I was not a direct from seller buyer. Like I was just not that person. So what I did was I found amazing wholesalers that would bring me these killer deals, and it's all through my network. Then there's the whole process of the fixing up. So I never tried to be my own general contractor because what did I know about construction, right?
Yeah.
So what I did was I hired the best general contractors I could find. I paid them well. I took care of my guys. And in turn, what they did for me was really like take, ownership in the jobs that they were doing for me and create the best possible homes. Then there's the selling team. And this is prior to me being a broker. I always went out to the market and I found the top broker in that market to sell my homes. And what that did for me is when I became a real estate broker, I kind of just emulated what I'd seen the other good brokers do. And that kind of helped me get the best price for the homes that I was selling. And I have a transaction coordination team. I have um, all these little pieces to the puzzle that like helps me scale and grow. Then there's the whole money aspect, right? Like when you're talking $700,000 deals, money is a big deal. Money is a big factor. Like how do you finance these deals?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I was able to raise private money earlier on. Like I had a good track record and that I was showing to my investors and give them a good return. And I was able to raise private money. Um, and then soon I became an advisor on the board of a lending company that lent to real estate investors like me. And, that kind of propelled my business because once I had their trust and they had mine, they
Mhm.
just funded all my deals. So now they just fund all my deals at a really good interest rate and they make it super easy.
Yeah, one source, but you had to work your way up there for sure. So
Oh, yeah, for sure.
that's awesome. Okay, so let me break this down a little bit for those that are listening, right? Whether you're a passive investor, a limited partner passive, or an active investor on either sides of the coin, what I like about Leka's story is that she understands both ends because she was an active investor herself. She helps her passive or her capital partners enjoy the freedom and benefit of her hard work, expertise, knowledge, team building, and creates a really good return for them. And if you're listening on either side of the house, I think it's really cool to kind of see both pictures because I see a lot of active partners, general partners, people that want to be, like Leka, and go do these deals. There's a lot of effort, time, energy that goes into it. 7-10 years. She put together some strategy, or she learned some strategies, nor some applies them now. She mentioned advisor at a board, raising private capital, $35 million worth of deals. I mean, there's a whole project management process. There's the teams. It's not just like she leverages, even in the beginning, wholesalers that had expertise, and she does that. So as if you're thinking about getting into it yourself, follow some of those guidelines. I did the same in my tech career. Like we
Yeah,
scaled a company from $100 million to $2 billion, and what we would do is try to outsource where we could from the best possible spots, like marketing, and learn from their tools. And then we brought them in house and we did them ourselves, and we kind of learned, and
that's
it
awesome.
same kind of mindset, right?
Yep.
And so that's what I heard Leica do, is partner, team effort, and then learn, and then try to bring it in house. And then private capital is a beast. So if you are a passive investor, Leica, tell us how you ensure your passive investors get the best possible return, have the best experience, maybe how you find, just kind of any of the insight as a passive investor working with you.
Okay, so when it's my own money on the line, I kick butt, right? I
Yeah.
like make sure I'm not dropping the ball. If it's someone else's money on the line, then I can go to like no mountain is high enough for me to trudge through to make sure that my investors make money. So I have never, knock on wood, lost any money for my investors. And it's because, when I know that there's someone else involved and they're like counting on me to make them a return, then I just go to bat. And so what I do is, like I do with all of my projects, I try not to drop the ball. I get creative in finding solutions. I reach out to my network and really like we have a good system in place. They get to be on the deed, they get a promissory note. We set up the deal up front the way that they want to. So I have a conversation with them. And this is not me syndicating a deal with 30 other investors. This is me capital raising from maybe one other person who understands real estate, who understands real estate investing. So a lot of people come to me and say, hey, can we invest with you? Can we partner with you? But they have no real estate background or experience. And that's, for me, that's like scary because they could take anything and perceive it differently.
Mhm.
Whereas someone that has done even one deal or understands real estate investing is more inclined to forgive, external forces that happen.
Yeah.
So I do raise money from both sets. I have a lot of techie friends and I have a lot of doctor friends that just want to invest in me because they know my track record. But they're also more low key and they don't ask any questions. They're like, oh, okay, we got it, and that's great. But then, with my real estate friends, it's fun, it's exciting because I get to take them through the process. Another thing that I do, Abel, is a lot of people come to me and ask me to mentor them, and the way I do that is by bringing them on my deals as a capital partner. And so they're as invested in the deal as I am. And then I show them my process from acquisition to construction to resale. And then that gives them kind of the inspiration and ability to go and do it on their own. And so I have a lot of people that do that too.
Yeah.
Um, so it's cool. It's interesting to see.
Yeah. That's awesome. What were some of, as an active investor, what were some of the biggest hurdles that you had to overcome mentally in the beginning?
Oh my God, there were so many limiting beliefs, right? Like, I'm a woman of color. Like, who's going to give me a deal? Why would they bring me a deal and not take it to Abel, right? That was like the biggest mental hurdle. Like, so what I did was I just became really friendly with the people that I knew were ballers, the people that were seeing the deals first, the people that were really making it happen in my city. I became just good friends with them, and then they saw that I could actually take something and create something magical out of it. And so then they started to have more confidence in my ability to project manage and construct. And then they started sending me more deals. But also there's like the whole like, okay, what if I built this home a certain way and nobody bought it, right? There's so many limiting beliefs that you just have to crush. And in like even now I face so many challenges. Every day I wake up and I'm like, okay, how many fires am I putting out today, right? But
Hmm.
that's the just the name of the game. And once you've done this long enough, you just understand with confidence that it's okay, this too shall pass, and you can get through it by reaching out to your network, by finding creative solutions. So you know you get used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. The limiting beliefs was huge for me,
Yeah,
as well. Even as a, you know, uh, I bought single family houses, not $700,000 houses, $100,000 houses in
yeah,
Texas, and I did that for 12 years. And I really thought for all of those years that there's no way that I can buy an apartment building. There's just, in 2008, I think I read that book from Ken McElroy. That
oh,
was literally my first commercial real estate book, but it's I read it because it was the ABCs, and I go, oh, this is perfect. They're going to teach me how to buy a house. And then
yeah,
I read it, and I go, this is apartment buildings. What the heck am I doing? You're a 26-year-old kid. You don't have any money. You don't have any expertise. There's no way to do it. And I shrank down for 10 years, and I did, smaller deals, and we didn't raise capital. We did one at a time. It took us 10 years to buy 8 houses. That was me and my wife. And just when you're finally breaking through, you're like, oh, everyday average Joes and Sues and Lekas and Abels, they can make it happen to you. You just got to learn. You got to leverage some expertise, and then you got to take a bunch of action. You're going to skin your knees a little bit here and there, which I'm sure you have
yeah,
that many transactions, and you just keep going, right? And you're
yeah,
breaking through. Well, that's
yeah. See, so inspiring.
your story is inspiring. So I'm excited. So you mentioned a few things, right? You mentioned going to talk to the quote unquote ballers, the people that were doing a bunch of deals, the
Yeah,
rainmakers, the deal closers, however you want to call it, the highest performing people in the rooms that you were in. How did you make friends with those people? How did you begin to And maybe how did you find them first? And
Yeah.
then how did you make friends with them?
Yeah. So I found them through networking events, like local networking events, real estate focused.
Mhm.
And I, also I did something else. Like I kept tracking every flip that came on the market once it was remodeled, and I would go back and look at the history and say, okay, who sold it, who bought it, and who's now selling it. And that kind of
Yeah.
gave me an idea for who these people that the trailblazers were. And
Mhm.
so it just became, and then, first of all, the city is small. And for as big as it is small. And within that, like real estate is even smaller. So there's just a few handful of people that make it happen. And so it's easy to find them. And so you go to these networking events, and when you already know who you're looking for, it's super easy to track them down. And, you just have to also be able to add value to them. And so the way I added value was that I said, hey, look, I have a network of people that can invest passively in your deals. So let me find you some of those people, and you find me a deal, and then we can all make this happen, right? So always trying to add value in some sense. And I'm also a huge connector. Like I'll know some marketing agent, or I'll know a real estate broker that's really good for a deal, or a buyer or a seller. So I'm always like, okay, what do you have that you need? What do you need in your business that I can help with? And that's kind of how we would make connections.
Mhm. I love
I
it.
didn't walk up to them and say, here I am, I want to invest, give me a deal.
Yeah. The even tracking of transactions,
Yeah.
looking at it from start to finish, who the names were, and then going to those networking events, finding out where they are, and then
Yeah.
I can be laser focused on who I need to meet. So you were super efficient from your time, and then you probably already had like the mindset of, okay, you're good at this. Let me provide you some value, whether it's capital or whether it's a deal or whatever that is. And then I'm sure one thing led to another, and see your beast of an activity. So that's awesome. That's really great. Hello, hello. You're listening to the Five Talents Podcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. If you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you're serious about achieving financial freedom. Are you ready to create your own path through multifamily investing for yourself and your family? Then I know you're going to appreciate our Investor's Guide to Multifamily Investing. It's titled Tackling Commercial Real Estate the Easy Way. We use this guide to invest ourselves in $93 million worth of real estate. So we're going to show you the basic mechanics of multifamily syndications and how to evaluate your next passive investment opportunity. So the best part, if you subscribe to our podcast now, leave us a review and a rating. I'm going to give you a free copy of our ebook. So please take a moment to do that now. Once you've done that, go to 5tcre.com/ebook, 5tcre.com/ebook. Make sure to let us know you left a review, and we're going to send you a free copy. So thank you so much for subscribing to the Five Talents Podcast. We really appreciate it. And then you mentioned something else that I'll touch on. You said, "This too shall pass." I love that saying.
Yes.
I love that saying. What made you think about that? Or maybe if you can look back on some of those tough moments or high moments, whichever route you think about it, what does that mean to you? And maybe share with the audience that, how
Yeah.
they should perceive this.
I mean, Abel, when I first started flipping homes, everything from having bad general contractors that did something, in the house that where the electrical was not connected, or, they forgot to add heating, or like just like random construction related things. Or I once went to buy a house, and 3 days before closing, the house burned down.
Oh my God.
And I still ended up, like, once insurance kicked in and whatnot, I still ended up closing on the deal 4 months after, and building a beautiful house out of it. And so if you do, and then like this other time, like Seattle rains a lot, and we had just finished all the drywall carpet in the basement, and through the summer and fall, we kept checking on this house to make sure there were no basement leaks. And then come winter, We had a massive snowstorm and rain, and the basement flooded, and the house was 100% finished. It was about to go on the market, right? And these are expensive homes. That was a $1.2 million home. And so when things like that happen, you're like crushed because you just
Yeah.
spend all this time and money in finding the deal, fixing it up, and then getting it market ready. And then, this happens. Like, what, everything that can go wrong basically has gone wrong. And that's just made me stronger because now I'm like, okay, bring it on, you know? I just bought a fourplex, and one side of the roof like caved in, and that's like when we were at 75% completion. But back in the day, I would be freaking out, like totally stressed out. Now I'm like, I know who to call, and it's just a matter of putting some extra money into it, and that's okay. It's the cost of doing business. So when I say this too shall pass, it just means just keep trudging along and things will work out eventually.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And the problems and challenges and obstacles, if you've been in real estate long enough, they continue to come. They don't ever stop. They're not always the same. And if you got tagged and had one
Oh,
of those experiences,
yes,
the first deal or so, it's so hard for somebody to push through and say, this is what real estate investing is like. It's not always like that,
yes.
but it can be like that. It's
It's
hard.
so crushing. It's like, why would you continue to do this?
Yes. Yeah. So I love that this tooth shall pass, because that's like you said. Hey, this we're gonna keep muscling through, and on the other side, there's sunshine of the clouds. On the
There
other side,
always is. There's always sunshine.
Mhm. That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for sharing. So, give maybe there's two types of listeners I think that I attract. One is I want to go do it myself and I want to get it on. I'm inspired and I'm ready to go forward. The other one is they're trying to learn a little bit more information about how to create more wealth or maybe preserve it with the right person to invest with. So, give some advice for the passive investors, the people, or your investors, maybe like with you. What do they need to be aware of? How do they make sure they succeed? How do I make sure I'm putting my money with the right team? How do I just vet things out, give them some advice, and that might help a little bit.
Okay, so for passive investors, like I would say, always go with a person with a good track record, right? Look at their 10 or 15 deals, see what their failures have been, what their successes have been, see how they overcame those failures. The way that I started to surround myself with the right people is always by asking other people who they like to work with. And that often helped most, more than going on a Yelp or going on Google. So you do the same. I would say talk to your network and see who they think has done amazing projects that they've been involved in. And find those people through your network. Find your people through hardcore data. That's it, data. Because someone can walk up to you in a bar and say that they flipped 75 homes, and I'm saying this because it happened to me. um, they've built 75 homes and they would make an amazing general contractor, but if you don't do your research and you went and hired them, like they could just be jerry rigging stuff, and you would never know it. And so I ended up, I think, losing 25 grand to a contractor this way because I hired him
Uh,
and I didn't do any research on him. So do your research, make sure that the person that you want to identify yourself with or partner with has a good, clean track record, and they have projects to show for that.
yep, yep, yeah, I love it. I love it. You make me think about just if I'm applying for a new job as a professional,
Right.
I'm giving somebody my resume,
Mhm.
and my resume has all my data and my stats. Mine does, anyways. And
Yeah.
I go and I've achieved X amount of millions of dollars of revenue, optimized this by X percentage, and then I had this performance, this award, this accolade in my professional world.
Yeah.
And I was I didn't. I finally left the professional W-2 world last year. This was my first
Woohoo!
full-time real estate world. Yeah,
Good
and
job.
I've interviewed literally thousands of folks from the time that I was 22. Started my own job, my own business, and I think I was a recruiter, so we interviewed like probably about 1,000 people from the time, maybe 2,000, by the time I was 22 to 25, 26. And then when I started working at an IT company called Rackspace, it was huge company, went from 500 employees to like 6,000. So I was also ended up being a heavy, heavy interviewer, and probably interviewed at least another 1,000 people. But I could look at somebody's resume and just see the time that they were there and the company that they were there, with no data or information behind that that job, or somebody who had like they've achieved President's Award, President's Club, hit gold this many months out of this. And it's very easy to see that track record. It's kind of like the same as the contractor. Yeah, I've done 75 flips on paper. I may have been involved somehow one way, but if you don't track it down yourself,
Yeah.
call, validate, it's hard to know who the pros are and who's not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what like also taught me to then only validate the next few contractors that I hired. And to the point where now I just go to the same contractor for all of
Yeah.
my work because he's amazing. And I found him through my network.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's great sage advice. So what is next for you? Are you gonna continue on the path? Are you gonna do like 100 Seattle flips? Are you going to commercial anytime? I mean, what's next on in your space?
Yeah, thank you for asking. There's a lot of exciting things coming up. I do flips now just for the fun of it. I'm good at it. I have a process in place, and our
I
market
love it.
needs it. Our market is so starved for inventory, and so it's always like really satisfying for me to put a beautiful house on the market and just watch it go. So that's why I do flips. But going forward, I'm looking at underwriting some commercial deals right now. I'm hoping to do my first syndication this year. So I'm excited, Abel, and I'm going to need your help and advice.
Happy to help you. Happy to
Uh,
help you.
and I'm also starting a company that is focused on assisted living, so senior living care on the residential side. So more to come on that. We're just in the discovery phase right now, and we're just, getting our team together, and we're going to see how we're going to take this and scale this.
Yeah, I love it. Well, congratulations, and look forward to both of those new avenues of some obstacles to overcome and also
Yeah.
successes on the other end of those challenges, I'm sure. What markets are you going to get after? Are you going to stay in your area, Pacific Northwest and Seattle-ish, or are you looking at other markets or?
So for the multifamily deals, I am going to stay in my Seattle market. It's going to be expensive, but it's also not going to be 100 units. It'll be like 10 to 20 units, which is
Okay.
awesome given my
What's the price of that? What is that over there?
I think 4 to 5 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for the assisted living, there's two markets we've identified. One is the Phoenix metro area, and then one is our Seattle market. So
Got it.
two
Well, got
different
it.
markets.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And what do you think the biggest challenges you've kind of come across from what you're great at today? You've already built up a lot of this expertise to trying these new asset classes.
I think there's a learning curve every time you do something different.
Hmm.
And there's a huge learning curve with syndications, right? It's like, how do you set up the deal? What does the back end look like? How does your whole legal structure look like? So many things, so many like just acronyms to now learn again.
I forget
Um,
about the acronyms. I
oh my
forget.
God, the acronyms. And so I just think there's another like learning curve here. And same with residential assisted living. There's like so many rules and laws that you have to adhere to in the city. Every state is different. So like every time you go to a new market, that's going to be learning a new market stat. So lots of learning, but that's how I did my flips too. Just learning every day. So it's fun. I'm excited. Looking
All
forward
right.
to learn.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited to do that as well. So before we go, I have a few more questions, but let me make sure we get the areas that people can reach out to you and contact you, and then also who do you want to contact you. So where can we reach out?
Yeah.
What's the best place to get in your world?
Okay, LinkedIn is my favorite platform right now. You can find me, Leka Devatha. And if you want to see the fun things I do with real estate investing, then follow me on my Instagram. And that's also, you can find me through just my first and last name. Um, the kinds of people I want to reach out to me. If you want to learn, if you want to be motivated, if you want to be inspired to start real estate investing or take it to the next level, reach out to me. If you are a passive investor looking to park your money somewhere and partner with me on a deal, then reach out to me.
All right, I love it. So are you pretty social? You get out there on the
I
socials?
do.
Sorry,
I
on
do.
specifically social, internet presence, social. Uh,
Yes. I
uh,
do, I do, and I'm out there. I'm responding to messages. I get like a ton of messages every day on my social media, and I'm out there and I'm responding. So yes,
how in the world do you keep up with this?
I
And this is
don't know,
self-serving.
people. I don't know. Sometimes I ask myself, I don't sleep. That's how.
People started asking me the same. Do you sleep? I go sometimes. Um,
People, you never sleep. Every time I woke up in the middle of the night, like you were
yeah.
on Clubhouse. Uh,
Well, there's a couple of times that I've just had my phone there and I fell asleep. So it looks like I'm on, but I'm like, nah, I fell asleep. But anyways, I mean, it's tough to kind of keep up with everything. I do have a number of teams, so I
there
don't. Do
you
you
go.
leverage any teams or anything from the social side?
Yes, I do have a team that, breaks out all my podcast interviews so we can then throw it out on social media. But with actual posting and writing and messaging, I like to do that myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, everything else is kind of leveraged out.
Yeah, that's I'm
Oh,
similar. I'm
yeah.
similar. I just hired some of the amazing Instagram team. So follow me on the Instagram now. I didn't say this before, but I guess I'm the old man. I was still on Facebook for all the years. Me and Leka just recorded we did a quick live on Insta,
Yeah.
and it was a one of those questions. I already knew Leka was social. She's everywhere. I see her face and that stuff on LinkedIn and follow her there. So she's got a great audience that she helps people with. So this is really cool. And so I heard a couple things. If you want to be inspired, if you want mentorship, kind of some guidance, how you do that. So you're sharing there. And then also the passive investor, somebody who wants to invest with Leka are the right targets here to go reach out. And Leka, is there anything we haven't talked about? Anything I didn't ask you? Anything you wanted to bring exposure to? Really anything, and just give you a few minutes here because I want to make sure I provide as much value for you as well. Anything you want to
Yeah,
highlight?
so earlier this or last year, we a bunch of us women came together and we wrote a book called The Only Woman in the Room book. And we each contributed a chapter and was compiled by my very good friend Ashley Wilson. And what this book has done for so many women across the country is show them that anybody from any background, man or woman, any background can actually invest, that can take charge of their own lives through real estate, get
Yeah,
independent, and trudge their own path. And so it's a really good book. If you think someone in your life needs it, or if you want it, find us on Amazon and go get yourself a copy. It's a very inspiring book.
that's awesome. That's super exciting. And when did that come out?
That came out, I want to say like August or September last year.
Okay, cool. And some of the maybe some of the contributors like yourself, who
So
else is?
there's Kathy Fetke, Investor Girl Brit, who is massive on Instagram. She has like over 200,000 followers.
Wow.
Of course, there's Ashley Wilson, there's Anna Kelly. I mean,
I had
just,
Anna on our podcast. She's awesome.
yeah, she's amazing. So, I mean, such heart-wrenching, warming stories. Rachel Street is another amazing woman in the Philly market. So she's on there. Yeah, lots of really cool people.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to go check that out and we'll put that in the show notes and as well as some of the areas to reach out to you. Like, and if I can ask for some, the last parting areas of wisdom, where do you stay up with the inspiration and the motivation? Are you a book reader? Are you an Audible person? Where do you get your inspiration, motivation, and that kind of stuff from?
So I do drive a lot. I drive 100 or 120 miles a day. And so I listen to a lot of podcasts. I mean, I listen to really everybody's podcast, yours, Ruben's, Yona's, Whitney's, Bigger Pockets. Like I just, it just depends on what I want to learn. John Fortes, for fund creations and
Yeah,
syndications. So a lot of different podcasts.
that's awesome. And so you're starting to jump on Clubhouse now?
And I jumped Clubhouse in Abel's rooms.
Oh man, it's like an interactive podcast, which I like the most because
I love
people
it.
can ask questions and start to engage and kind of keep the conversation flowing. But anyways, it's been amazing. I really appreciate you joining. I'm sincerely appreciative that you're humbled and grateful that you're here. And I know our audience is going to get some value from this conversation. So thank you very much, Leka.
Thank you for having me, Abel. And I'll see you at my next virtual meetup. And for the audience too, I do host a monthly meetup. I'd love to have you guys on there.
All right. That sounds awesome. Well, again, this is Abel Pacheco. I'm your host for the Five Talents podcast. If you got some value today, which I know you did, go reach out to Leka, get in her world, connect with her. She wants to connect with you as well and help inspire and motivate, and as well as be an avenue to invest in that area of the country. And then go to our podcast and please subscribe, rate, and review. Leave us a written review. They really do help. And thank you very much. So thank you all. Bye, Leka.
Bye, Abel. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Five Talents podcast with your host, myself, Abel Pacheco. Each week, we're going to bring you interviews from industry experts and commercial real estate investors who followed their dreams and achieved massive success. Before you leave, let me ask you a few questions. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you learn something valuable? Was your mind stretched to what's possible and what you can achieve? Do you want other experts just like the one you heard today? If you answered yes to any or all of those questions, then please take a moment to subscribe to the Five Talents podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and most importantly, leave us a written review. Tell us what you liked, tell us your favorite guest, give us any feedback. I'm excited to learn and improve so you can get a more valuable show. So thank you again for subscribing to the Five Talents podcast.